First, we're just going to take it to a vote. So raise your hand if you think that A does not belong. You all think this one belongs. Raise your hand if you think that B does not belong. Raise your hand if you think that C does not belong. Okay, so an overwhelming majority. I almost don't even want to count, so I'll just kind of star that one. And raise your hand if you think that D does not belong. Okay, so we're all seeming to be in agreement. I mean, you guys did not all have to agree. It's not like there's necessarily one right answer, so long as you can justify why the one you chose does not belong. So table 4, can someone at that table explain to me why C does not belong? So it has the same amount of dots on each data point. I mean, granted, there's no data points on -21 or -8, but like that middle shape is all 3 dots. Right, so it could be as simple as that. It could be more complex. Like, did anyone see something else that was different about that one? Maybe on the axes, is that one different than the others? Wait, it's the only one that doesn't end with -9. It actually ends at -8. So, I mean, it could be as simple as that. Sometimes that's all we want you to see. This lesson, I know it seems weird and out of order. We're doing lesson 4 today, the shape of distributions. We're just going to learn what each type of possible shape we can see out there. Later in the unit, we'll do a lot with the shapes, like, for example, telling you the mean without necessarily doing the math. All right, so remember mean and average from middle school. Some of these shapes, how they are set up, I can tell you the mean without even doing the math. So that's like where we're heading to. Today, we are just going to practice using the different vocabulary for it. So that's the whole point of today. And you have all of these data distributions on your paper. So we are going to actually like kind of take notes at that top part so that you can have a visual for these vocabulary words that we are going through today. So it has the same amount of dots. It's like the consistent is how I've heard it described earlier. Whenever the data looks the same throughout, it could even be just all data points on one number. We call that uniform. So write that down next to that one. Because yeah, you could describe the shape. You could say how it looks. But uniform is the vocabulary that will show up on like a quiz or test. Okay, so C is uniform. Can you think of something else that could describe it, like another vocab word? Maybe look at your learning targets. Yes, it is also symmetric. So we can use more than one vocab word to describe the same shape. So uniform and symmetric is how we would describe data set C, which you guys all said does not belong. Now, table 6. Can you tell me, and you can look at your learning targets for the other words that we're going to use today. Can you tell me which one best fits data set A? So the learning targets are right at the top of all your views. That's how you know you'll let the goal today. So table 6. have a list of words where it says I can describe the shape of a distribution using terms like symmetric, skewed, uniform, bimodal, and bell-shaped. Do any of those words describe data set A? Okay, skewed. Class, do we agree with that? And I know I haven't formally defined any of them for you, but skewed, does this look skewed to you? Is there any that does look skewed? Emberlyn? B as in boy? Yeah. So kind of a good guess, but I don't think we would describe that one as skewed. And so then by process of elimination, the skewed example must be B. And whenever the data is more to the right, so like very little data to the left, more to the right, we call it left skewed, which I know is weird. It is the opposite of what you would think. The data is more on the right, so it's left skewed. The way that I remember it, so like forensic science on the brain, I think of those dots as like little blood drops. And I don't know, say someone hit you in the head or hit a victim in the head, and they're like blood drops now on the wall. Wherever that person was standing, or if there was like an object in the way, we could tell by the void spot. So since the void is on the left, we would call it left skewed. If the void was on the right, we call it right skewed. So that's just one way to remember it, but this is left skewed. Okay, so table 7. What of our list of vocabulary would you say that A most looks like? Wait, I'll have you sit this one out. I want to hear everyone's voice. Normally I assign a reporter. I hope that I don't have to right now. I hope that it's honestly kind of easy. I mean, you have options. They're in the learning targets. By the end of the lesson, you need to be able to use words like symmetric, skewed, uniform, bimodal, bell-shaped. Could any of them describe data set A? It is not bimodal, and also you're not table 7. So table 7, and also not weight. Bell-shaped. Wouldn't you guys agree this is the only one that would look like a bell? I mean, it might look more like a mountain to you. It might look more like a hill. But it is the only one that follows like a bell curve. Are there any other words we could use to describe this one from our list? Table 8. Can it be bell-shaped and something else from our list? It's not uniform. Uniform would be more like graph C, where it's like all the same. So try again. What else from our list? Table 8. Well, bimodal is what B is an example of. Because what does the prefix bi mean? Two. So when I have two peaks, that's what we mean by bimodal, like two peaks. It is like the reverse of bell-shaped. Okay, but bimodal, we have two peaks. But there's one word that you can use to describe both A and D, yes? Symmetric. Now, if you're not familiar with the word symmetric, it's like when you can draw a line somewhere, it doesn't have to be right down the middle, but just be able to draw a line somewhere. And it looks like mirror images on both sides. Now I can see how it might not be perfectly symmetric, like this one has 2 and then 1, and then it goes 2, then 1, then 1. But For the most part, it is. Like very rarely in the real world do we have data that is like perfect. For the most part, it is symmetric. Okay, questions on that? The bimodal example, I'm checking right now, is perfectly symmetric if I were to draw my line of symmetry down here. So yeah, you can also call this symmetric. So now in your notes, hopefully you were taking good notes as we were doing this, you have good representations, good drawings of all the different vocabulary. So we use symmetric, skewed, uniform, bimodal, and bell-shaped. Is D symmetric? D is the only one that is not symmetric. So you could have chose D as not belonging, but it's not symmetric. Okay, but yeah, so even with just the warm up, we already covered a lot of the goal of today. So just make sure we always give it a best shot. I'm not looking for right answers all the time. Sometimes the wrong answers help us learn better. So just kind of try to be more open to the learning process. Just so you know, we do have assigned fire drill locations. It's different for every teacher. In case there's ever a fire drill during this hour, this is where we are supposed to be. So if you don't know, this is like the student parking lot. Right here is the building that we are in. So should there ever be a fire drill, you just go out these doors, the closest ones to us, down the stairs, through the gate. And we do not go very far from the building. I know you will be tempted to go far, but look at how many other teachers and their classes have to line up on the sidewalk. We just go right here. So there might be like 2 teachers and their classes first as you were walking. You just don't go very far. This is right there. Regardless, because I usually have to be the last one out, so I'll follow you guys. My class always tends to go farther than they need to. You just like turn around and look for me. I'll hold a green sign that says me. Should you go missing, the fire drill cannot end without me locating each of you. And if you are off, like playing around with your friends, making new friends, and making the fire drill last longer than it needs to, then there are consequences. So please do not run off and escape. Let's find us, not move on without you. So any questions on that? My first hour had time where we took a little walk to see what it is. I don't feel like we need to do that, but again, just go down the nearest exit, close to the baseball field, but not that far in. Okay. So there's that, just in case you ever have a fire drill in here. Also, first, let me talk about the class size first. As you can see, this is almost a full class. Some of the other algebra teachers have it easy, where they have maybe like 25 students. We have more like 35. When I was talking to one of the counselors about that, she said that I could ask for volunteers if they want to have their schedule changed. Now, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if that means they'll put you in one of my smaller hours or another teacher. I don't know. But if that sounds like something that might appeal to you, let me know later. Email me. I can't guarantee anything, but he just told me to look for volunteers. If you are in my math lab, then you would have to stay with me as a teacher, sorry. But if you're not, and you might want to be moved, let me know. Otherwise, I mean, it's not the worst thing to have a big class. Hopefully that means more participation. But it is sometimes just easier to have a small class. So we're just gonna take volunteers, so let me know if that interests you. One more procedure thing I want to review. I know I've been talking a while, but it's super important. Some of you are already told that I am going out of town this week. I have a wedding to attend in Colorado on Thursday. So that means the rest of the week, I will have to not be here. Now, I think that I've set up really great structures for when I'm gone. but I know that students are students and they'll always want to like sit with their friends or mess around or just not do anything. Know that I do provide the sub your seating chart. I do provide the sub your pictures, so that should any shenanigans go on or you're pretending you're in the right seat but you're not, they can let me know. I have had to assign most of my detentions for when I'm not even here because they're, you know, kids act up when they're subs. Hopefully we're beyond that. But just letting you know, like, they can identify you. Don't do anything that will get you in trouble. But also, I'm supposed to have the same sub for the next 3 days. I have had it where maybe like the sub has something come up and then it's like different subs every day. I have left beautiful sub plans. It should be super easy to follow. I know you don't know me that well yet, but say that the sub doesn't read it to you, the instructions, doesn't pass out the paper you need. Know that everything I ever do is always in Schoology. Might be different for other teachers, but I'm like very organized. So let's just see what it looks like from a student standpoint. Because like I said, students will always try to say, oh, I wasn't able to do the assignment because of blah, blah, blah. This like sidesteps everything. Please, like the responsibility is always on you. I am not going to, when I return, reteach all those lessons. It is all on you. What I will do is like a Kahoot review, but all the lessons are recorded and here's how you find it. So highly recommend tonight, if you don't already have headphones that plug in or headphones that you can connect to your Chromebook, maybe like pack those tomorrow so that you can watch the lesson at your own pace. I do have a way for the sub to put the lesson up for you on the TV should they need to, but it's really easy. Like, use your problem solving skills. If tomorrow is August 7th, guess what folder I should probably click on? All right, everyone look up here. If tomorrow is August 7th, what folder should I probably click on? Okay, so does this week fall with August 7th or the week before it? Okay, and the most recent week will always be toward the top. Now, if it's August 7th, what PowerPoint should I probably click on? Probably the one that's called August 7th. Like, you wouldn't believe, like my students, I try to say they couldn't do their work. It is always here, August 7th. Look, there's the notes for that day. There's a link for you to upload your completed notes. So that is a requirement when I'm gone. Like, you upload your notes, that's how I know you did something that day. And then you have your assignment. So August 7th has usually the presentations I show you. Sometimes this part doesn't show up on your screen, but all you have to do is hit this little button right here. That pops you out to a different tab. Here are the same exact instructions that I leave with the sub. So whether they read it to you or not, it's there. It says watch the video lesson for Unit 1, Lesson 2, and you click on it. And look, it's the lesson. And it's actually me teaching it. So it's really not that different from when I would be here. Obviously, I know some of you will say that it's hard for you to learn from a video, and I get it. But don't like just not watch it and then be confused. If you want to ask questions afterward when I come back or through email, I will happily help. But if you haven't even watched the video, then that's a problem. I will not be as helpful. I'll tell you to watch it first. And they're not very long, like 20 minutes. An hour is 60 minutes. So 20 minutes for you to take your notes as you go, and then about 30 to do your assignment and upload your notes. And know that the assignments are never really that long. Maybe like 5 questions maximum. So you should be able to finish everything within the hour if you actually do your work. The uploading assignments, I know we've never done that in here before, but it's really easy. I even have in the instructions right here. Here's a video if you need help uploading your assignments. You can use your phone to take a picture and upload it with the Schoology app. You could use your Chromebook to take a picture and then just upload it in Schoology on your Chromebook. But it's really easy, and I even made a video to show you step by step how to do that. But no excuses. I will still, while I am on vacation, put the missings in so that you have a sense of urgency to do that. Okay? So do it. Promise, it's really not that hard. And there's that. So you have a lesson still every day while I'm gone. On Friday, you have a lesson and a quiz, so you are still taking the quiz while I'm gone. So just make sure you have good notes. You can use your notes on the quiz. The sub will know not to let you use your phones on the quiz. And you really shouldn't need to, like the questions I think that, but there's always someone that tries. Any questions? And that's the expectation every single time I'm gone. There's always a slideshow. There's almost always a video. So now you know. All right, so back to the lesson. I know that took like a big, long pause, but I'm not gonna be here for 3 days. Doesn't mean you can't email me for questions. We are going to pick up next week right where you should have left off. So like I said, the lessons are always recorded like I'm recording right now. It'll be linked in today's slides later. You do have a practice today, and like I said, they're never really that long. So I think 5 questions that you're doing independently is manageable. I know it's really easy for students to cheat when there's only 5 questions on a practice, but like, what's the point of doing that? Honestly, you can figure it out yourself. It's only 5 questions. So resist the urge, the temptation when you see your peers cheating. You want to make sure that you're good for the unit test and not comes up. You could always ask for more attempts, by the way, just email me. If you decide to turn in tissues or syllabus or hand sanitizer while I'm gone, just make sure that your name is on all the things you're bringing in and that you put it on the back table. Not on my desk, the back table. I know my back table is really messy right now. It will not be that messy after today, but there will be clear spaces where you can turn everything in. So just make sure your name's on it and I'll give you that extra credit and all that stuff. All right. So we're going to continue on with the note sheet we have in front of us. We already did the which one doesn't belong where we introduced the vocab. So remember, the main point is to be able to use these words to identify the shapes. Before we do the next activity, look up at the screen. Think of something that you notice, something that you wonder, and something that you can infer. Like, maybe what does this data possibly represent? Who knows? Notice, wonder, infer, think about it. And now briefly share with your groups. Make sure that no matter what table I call on, you can tell me either a notice, wonder, or inference about what you see in front of you. Table 9, give me one thing you notice.
Oh, I noticed that they both look alike.
Okay, they both look alike. Table 1, give me one more thing you notice. It could be something really, but you notice. It is right skewed, good. So we are using our vocabulary. And keep in mind, guys, sometimes it really is something really obvious that you can use as your notice. Like, for example, they are numbered the same. It could be that one has dots and one has bars. You could actually know what each of these are called And like I mentioned, we're doing lesson 4 today. You'll see why when we do our little activity. But lesson 2 is about how to create these dot plots and histograms. Lesson 3, which you'll also do while I'm gone, is how to make a box plot. So just know, like, you'll see why they have differences in how they look. Table 2, can you give me one wonder? Okay, what does it represent? And it sounded like we were saying something else. Do you want to share? No, not anymore. Okay. What does it represent? I think it's great because the axes are not labeled. We don't know what is going from 81 to 92. So that's where we can add in that inference. That's one of our learning targets, is using graphical representations to suggest a situation that it represents. So think in the real world, what could be going from 81 to 92? Money, I heard, over here. Money as well. What else could possibly start at 81 and end at 92? Yes. Age. What else? Yes. Grades. One thing I thought of was temperature. So without a label for what this represents, it really could be any of these. That's the other thing that we are trying to accomplish today, the other learning target. There's things that it could not be, like this could not be all of our ages in here, right? So you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say your classmates' ages, but other things you could say, like ages of people in a retirement home maybe. All right, that's our other learning target. But the lookalike is good to notice because these are actually two different representations of the same data. So that leads us to our next activity. You are going to take turns in your groups, matching two different data displays. So like one will be a dot plot, the other will be a histogram. You're going to take turns matching. And you can, as you're doing that, jot down some notes on your note sheet. Notice that most of this is geared toward you. So when you preview the questions, as you're doing this, think what matches were tricky, what vocabulary was useful. Were there any matches that could be described by more than one word? And then maybe to the back side, if you finished early, what does symmetric data look like? What does it mean to say that something's uniform? Okay, so these are more like take notes as you go. So with the exception of the last 3 groups, the rest of you should have in your baskets or just on the table some cards to sort. There might be 2, there might be 3. If there are 2 sets, then break off into like 2, like a group of 2 and another group of 2. If there's just 3 of you, then I'll do it together. I'm gonna steal one from a group. Who has 2 sets at their table? Okay, yeah, you're allowed to take them out. If you have 2 sets at your table, try not to mix them up. They're completely separate, complete sets. You know that they belong to the same set if they have the same number on the back. Okay, so like this one has all 2s on the back, so they all go together. I don't have enough for each pair to split up, but if you have enough that you could split up, by all means. Definitely take turns. Don't be a hog, don't be a log. Everyone needs to create a match. We'll see what makes it easier as you go. Any questions on what you're doing? Okay, I'll start you with 5 minutes and then we'll see if that's enough time. So here are the first couple matches. So like not all of them are numbered, but dot plot 1 goes with this histogram. And dot plot 2 goes with this one. Now I'm looking at it and it looks like shape-wise, the exact same, does it not? But what's different about them? The numbers on the axes, so that's something to pay attention to. Now, you haven't formally learned how to make a histogram yet. You'll learn that tomorrow by watching the video. But you'll learn that these are intervals. So that's why it doesn't look exactly like this, but it does cover 1 through 11. All right, so just keep that in mind. Look at the axes. Think about what this data could represent. So like what could go from 1 to 11? Could this be our shoe sizes? Do you think anyone decides one in here? Probably not, so maybe don't go with that. Could this be number of customers at a fast food restaurant? Possibly. They're whole numbers, so think things like that logically. Table 1. Give me one word from our vocabulary that we could use to describe all of these data sets. Bell shape. And then class, what's another word that could describe all of these on the screen? Symmetric, good. Usually if it's bell shaped, it's also symmetric. Questions on that? Okay, so then scrolling. Now here's the next couple matches. Table 2, what word from our list could be used to describe all of these that are on the screen? Bimodal, good. So bimodal, that prefix, 2, so 2 peaks is what we're looking for. All right. Even this one that is not symmetric, like perfectly, I mean, you could still probably call it symmetric because not all data is perfect all the time. I would definitely say this top pair is more symmetric than the other. That's probably what gave it away. But usually if it's bimodal, it's also symmetric, at least for the most part. Questions on this? Okay, so then moving on. And notice this other pairing that could also be considered bimodal and symmetric, just now it has a lower peak on the left side. So hopefully you're able to make that distinction. Table 3, how would we describe this data set? Number 6. Uniform. Definitely the dot plot. Now hold on, I will do that. Okay, so I got this one right here. So uniform. Remember that these describe the same data. So although this one might not look perfectly uniform, you know that the data from the dot plot, you can usually see it better in a dot plot, is. Like they're perfectly the same amount on each tick mark. But you'll learn with histograms, whatever number it is, like the interval, if it hits the higher part of that interval, it goes to the next bar. So like when it hits -9 exactly, it goes here. And that's where you see the two data points. But you'll learn that tomorrow. Questions so far? Things that are uniform, what other word do we usually use to describe them? Symmetric, good. Although the right one doesn't look symmetric really, these are the same data. And for the most part, it isn't. Moving on. So another symmetric example, now just the difference is the tick marks. One has for a negative data set. What's something that could be a negative number, like in the real world? Temperature. I can't think of much that is negative other than temperature. But I'm happy to hear it if you think of another one. But maybe this is temperatures of somewhere cold. So that means the other learning target. This could be temperatures in Arizona. right? 99 to 109. All right, so now table 4. What word would you use to describe graphs like number 8, this pair? Definitely skewed. Sometimes because like this data is all clustered together and there's only one that's like alone. What would we call that one that's alone? I haven't said it yet today. What do we call data that's like really far away from the rest? Yes. An outlier. Now later in the unit, you'll learn how to like mathematically determine for sure that it's an outlier, but you can usually make a good guess. Think about what this could possibly represent. Like, why would I have a bunch of data from 1 to 10 and then 1 at 25? Ages in a classroom. Maybe more like a daycare if we're having like 1-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And then what would that 25 be? The teacher or the caregiver, whoever. So good. Sometimes we will exclude the outlier, like if I'm talking about ages of people at the daycare, probably don't want to include care of them. But you know, this depends on the data. So yeah, I guess out of all of the words, skewed would be best. What type of skewed would we consider? Right skewed, good. Look for the voids, not where the data is clustered. It's always like the opposite. If that outlier was not there, then we'd probably go with bell-shaped, but there you go. Table 5. How would we describe this pair? The pair with the number 9 next to it. Sorry, did I? Oh, 5. Skewed and in what direction? Good. It is less skewed. Sometimes we just accept skewed and that's perfectly fine. But if they specify this one's less skewed. Last pair was this one. Table 6. Could any of the words we talked about be used to describe this one? Good guess. But bi means, like the prefix means what? 2. So I guess if I had to give a word for it, I would do trimodal, like we have 3 peaks. But there is a word on our list that for sure applies, and that would be what? This one's not bell-shaped because it doesn't have it clustered more in the middle. I mean, it has one cluster in the middle, but it has to be all clustered around the middle. Yes? Symmetric is the only one from our list that best describes it. Not bimodal because you have more than 2. Okay? But good. So do you feel confident using words like symmetric, skewed, uniform, bimodal, bell-shaped? If not, then ask me about it. We do have a little bit of time to start our practice in class. Do me a favor, especially if there's 2 sets of cards on your table, bundle them up with the correct pair. Maybe mix them up so that the next class doesn't have them already matched. You can check the back of the cards to see that they're all in the right set. There should be enough binder clips or paper clips. If not, let me know. And you can put them back in the back. Your practice is in Schoology. So Unit 1, Lesson 4, that's the one we did today. And if you need me, let me know. But I think we covered all the